What do you make of the explanation that Oliver Vormawor made in order to sort of justify why he believed that his real intention for putting that out has been misconstrued or has been misconceived?
No, but I think that what is wrong is wrong. No matter how hard you try to justify it, you could clearly see a struggling Vormawor to justify whatever was said. Even in doing so, he also acknowledged that he erred, and for that matter, he will apologize. But one thing that we should know is that inherent in the appointment committee's rights is to make sure that it can call, or if you like, hold people before its committee, and has rights like a high court to be able to also hold people and to tell people that they can also bring documents or whatsoever to the committee for the committee to assess some of these things. It is like all other committees of parliament. That power is guaranteed under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and also the standing orders of parliament. But one thing that I found very worrying as a lawyer, especially when I saw the veteran Nana Atodazi trying to give reasons, especially in law, as to what he sees as a proper defense to the statement that was made by Vormawor, relying on the Whistleblowers Act, Act 720. I found that very interesting and very worrying at the same time. It's very troubling, and I don't think that that should have been the way to go, especially because if you read the Whistleblowers Act, that is the Act 720, where that is disclosure of impropriety, and I think that is where Nana Atuata was trying to, as it were, rely on as a basis for his defense for his client, based on the instructions that he had from his client. But if you read the disclosure of impropriety, it talks about the fact that a person may make a disclosure of information where that person has reasonable cause to believe that the information tends to show, and where it really relates to this matter is the B, that another person has not complied with the law or is in the process of breaking a law, which means that bribery, it's under the criminal code, it's an offense. So if anybody want to break a law, if anybody want to do something that is in contravention with the law, then of course the Section 1 of the Whistleblowers Act can be relied upon. I wanted to see how you could situate the comment that was made by Vormawor in the context of Section 1 of the Act 720, to see if he could provide some amount of evidence or proof for some of the things that he said. Moro, mind you, even when I joined Parliament in 2021, at the time, some of these comments were made. Some of these allegations have been made. It's not the first time we are hearing some of these comments. You hear people talk about the fact that the appointment committee is taking money from people, or is demanding money from people, or people who have also decided to offer some amount of money to the appointment committee, and what have you. Yesterday, I was so much interested because I wanted to really get a proof or an evidence from some of these allegations that have been made, if indeed they were true, so that we can have a way to sanctify our democracy through Parliament.
And especially given the follow-up comments that Oliver made.
Right.
When the announcement came that he was going to be hauled before the committee.
Right.
You know, and, you know, he said something to the effect that, well, it's time to do the needful, or something like that. He said, which sort of suggested that
it's time to make sure that our democracy
exactly. So this is how a democracy improves.
Yes.
It says, I look forward to appearing before the appointment committee tomorrow.
Yes.
And the impression this statement gave to, I'm sure, most people was that he has something up his sleeves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I got very disappointed only to find out that Nana Tudazi and the other lawyers came there to apologize. But of course, in doing so, they still wanted to show mettle. They still wanted to justify. You see, you cannot give a qualified apology of this nature to a committee that feels that its image is tainted or is about to be tainted. Because if you read the article 122 of the 1992 Constitution, at any point in time that Parliament thinks or believes that any statement or anything has been done that is supposed to mar the integrity and image of Parliament, contempt proceedings can be triggered against you. And so I fell in love with Assafuah yesterday. You could see a clearly angered man. You could see a clearly interested man who wanted to make sure that his image and the credibility of Parliament is intact, just to make sure, because clearly you could see that he was so sure that he has not taken any money from anybody, he has not demanded money from anybody. The side of the NDC has not even done that, let alone the side of the NPP to do so. And this is a clearly populated NDC side committee that will not need any minister to even negotiate with anybody or to even engage anybody for approval purposes. It's needless. I could have taken some amount of keen interest in it in terms of believing it maybe in the 8th Parliament. But in the 9th Parliament, some of these things, for me, and in my estimation, cannot be possible. And so I was very much interested in finding out as to what happened. To my surprise, and I got so much surprised to have seen that he had nothing to show. There was no basis, there was no proof, there was no evidence. These things were just said for purposes of saying it. And sometimes, or many a time, these things are said on social media, and you have a lot of people supporting it, even after he left the committee. The apology that he gave, for me, was still qualified. And I think that the appointment committee should take interest in that. We were demanding for an unqualified apology because the integrity of Parliament is what you seek to taint. You allege bribery on persons that you know and you cannot prove, you cannot provide any evidence on such persons. And when you have been asked to apologize so that the matter is not taken upwards to maybe the Privileges Committee, for the Privileges Committee to hear you, so that sanctions may be given if we are unable to provide the evidence. Because clearly, today, if the Privileges Committee sits on this matter, because the apology that has been given is qualified, which is not acceptable. It is not an acceptable apology, in my estimation. He should do the needful and give an unqualified apology for the Ghanaian people to know that indeed you are remorseful about what you've done. But the apology that I saw on his Facebook wall doesn't show that a man, it doesn't show a man who is remorseful about the incidents that happened, about his actions. And that is regretful. I was expecting Nana Tudazi, his caliber, somebody who has been at the bar for 50 years. When he started practicing, some of us were not even born. And so, with his caliber, you should have known that, yes, the man indeed has erred. The man has done things that is an affront to the integrity and image of the appointments committee. And for that matter, Ab initio, just upon attending to the committee, should have just apologized vehemently to the people of Ghana and to Parliament so that we could have moved forward. In the absence of that, I don't think that this is how, in his own words, we can improve democracy.
I see. So it's beginning to look like perhaps the appointment committee has not really dealt with this matter to your satisfaction.
The appointment committee,
or you think they've done
they have done, but I am just calling the appointment committee
to follow
based on the qualified apology that they gave,
yeah,
which to me is unsatisfactory. To call him back or to direct S. Clark to write to him
Okay.
that the apology that is supposed to be given should not be a qualified apology,
Right.
rather an unqualified apology to the appointment committee, so that Parliament and the appointment committee will be satisfied that indeed this is a man who is remorseful. This is a man who indeed wants to protect and improve democracy. Because in democracy, when you allege things that are falsehoods, and that tends to, as it were, affect the image and integrity of people, you should be able to make sure that you protect the sanctity of Parliament and the persons that you've made those allegations
So I
against.
guess the point you're making is that his apology does not sound as though, on hindsight, he has accepted that what he did was wrong, and he is genuinely sorry about it.
Absolutely.
But it's as though I'm apologizing because this is what you want, so I'm giving it to you.
And he is also seeking to put an unnecessary interpretation to it.
Yeah.
An interpretation that he thinks
Okay.
that when he gives the people of Ghana will understand it. But of course, it doesn't make sense to me because everybody can read. You cannot put your own mischievous interpretation to it to make it sound a certain way that you want to communicate. Of course, to show your mettle that you do not want to apologize. But you are apologizing because you have been told to apologize. That is not remorseful enough.
I get it.